All right, we are recording. Perfect. All right. Well, can everyone see my screen? They should be seeing the transit user group good old opening slide. Thanks for that thumbs up, Joel. So welcome everyone. Great group so far today. And I know I've had emails from multiple people afterwards saying, I want to be there. I can't just because of scheduling reasons. But I want to thank all of you for joining us today for our spring meeting for the transit user group. We've been going we're almost to hit our second year mark. I can't believe that. We started off at the user conference in 2022 and we've been going strong. I love this group. We're up to 80 different transit agencies represented within the group. And over, I think in the last count, we had a couple of people who moved on from their jobs. We were at 124 people, and I think I had to take a few people off because emails bounce back and so on. So I think we're at about 118 to 120 is the latest I've heard. So great group. I'm so glad to have all of you here. So with that, let's just dive in for the sake of time. So here's going to be our basic agenda for today. I've got a few announcements I want to make sure you're aware of. Some updates from Esri. We're going to have actually going two topics from Esri. Some really cool things, and I would say I love that the momentum and the view of transit within, I'm speaking from within Esri itself, of the need to put together transit specific workflows and tools. So that's what we're going to be showing, some cool things with that. And then obviously our open forum. We have overwhelming response the last time we met. As you have been a part of these meetings, you know that I can be a little long-winded, especially when it comes to my demonstrations and so on. And we ran out of time on our open forum. And so I've added another 30 minutes onto it today. So that way if we need more time for our next meeting, absolutely, we'll add more time. I want to make sure that everyone has that chance to be able to communicate with each other, to collaborate and so on. So, all right. And I will say this, as always, as we're going through this, if you have questions, please feel free to unmute yourself, jump off and mute, get my attention. I love having this as a conversation instead of just me up here going over and over again, because that does happen. But let's go through these and let's all work together. So, all right. So as far as announcements, I'm sure many of you are well aware that coming up here in we're less than 2 months away is our big annual user conference. That is our July 15th through the 19th in San Diego. Biggest GIS conference in the world. I've actually been tracking, and we had I want to say the COVID years, but we had those couple of user conferences that were virtual, but since we've gone back in person, the number of people who are attending from working in the transit field has grown and grown. We're already well surpassed the number of transit attendees as we had last year. So I'm loving that all of you are taking advantage of what is provided at the user conference. And with that, I'm going to launch a poll. If just wanted to get everyone's view of, are you going to be attending the user conference, whether in San Diego, the digital access or so on? Arrivals are rolling in. And let me just bring this over here so you can see those results. Those are coming great. So we've got a good number who are going to be there in San Diego. That's awesome. The digital access, for those not able to attend that for other reasons, totally get that. And then certain numbers not attending. All right, I think we have just about everyone. So, all right, let's just end that. So there's the results. Got 14 people on here that are going to be in person there in San Diego. Perfect. I would love for you to be able to come and see me. I'm going to be at the transit booth at the expo hall. the entire time. I don't think I'm allowed to leave because we've had so much demand at those. So for those of you who are going to be there, a couple of things that I want to point out. So first off is the transportation social. That is going to be Sunday night, 6 p.m. on the Marina Terrace. So I'll in my follow-up email, I'll put in the information. That was a little hard to find last year. Basically, it's on the backside of the uh, convention center along the marina where all the boats are and all that are parked. You can't miss it. You just be walking up and down there, you'll be able to see that there. So we had a great time last year. Great getting to know other people from other types of transportation workflows and so on and everything. So anyway, very highly recommended. So also for those of you who are going to be there, the transit SIG or the special interest group. Now, this one we're working on we're getting the agenda finalized. We're going to be really diving into, I believe, the real-time use of transit data. We're going to be bringing in some other presenters from, I believe it's going to be around equity and so on. But this next part, for those of you going to be there, I am just the messenger. So please don't get too upset with me from this. It has been moved, unfortunately, instead of over lunch, usually on Wednesday or Thursday, to bright and early Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. So just for the vast number of special interest group meetings, those every so often you have to take one of those early morning ones, and this is our year to take one of those. So anyway, we would still love to have everyone who is there to make sure you can make it there. We're going to have some great discussions and presentations and so on there. So anyway, excuse me. And I believe that's all that I had for user conference. Any questions or comments or anything like that related to the user conference? If you do, please feel free to take yourself off mute and we can go over that. All right, I'm not hearing any. But
Uh,
oh yeah,
sorry, I do have
yes,
a question.
yes.
I wasn't aware about the digital or remote attendance option. Is there any
Okay,
way we can get more information about that?
absolutely. I'll include that in our follow-up email. We'll get that also and put it in the chat when my colleague Joel is going to be presenting here after this. Yeah, I will definitely, Solomon, I'll put that in the chat so you can see what's required to get that digital access.
Great, thanks.
Of course. So I have a hyperlink in here. Now we have a list of transit sessions. Let me see if I can get that to come up here. All right. So I'm going to bring this over so you can just see what we have going on here. So this is a custom agenda that we put together for transit workflows, not just specific, let's say, transit presentations. Like we've got a few good ones on using Survey 123 for ADA requirements and so on. But other ones that I think are pertinent to what you'll be utilizing in your day-to-day ArcGIS use, like business analyst. Pay attention to the workflows and business analysts coming up. Absolutely. Equity and social justice. Here's solutions. ArcGIS velocity. This one is very, very pertinent to what we're working on in transit and utilizing it for GTFS data. So anyway, highlighting asset inventory for transit agency. So this is one of those paper sessions to where we can see those. So anyway, you can see I've got a bunch of them in here. This hyperlink will be in the notes in the PDF that comes out of our presentation here. So you'll be able to get all of those. For any of those attending, you can get those. I believe some of those who are on the digital access will be able to get some of the larger group meetings. So like the ArcGIS Velocity session, you'll be able to see ones like that. So anyway, there's a lot of information that I think is going to be really, really helpful with your workflows going forward. So, all right. Okay, so let me get back to here. And so one of the, well, before I jump into what we call our community map section, any questions on anything related to the user conference? All right, Tim, will you be able to see the scheduling if you're not going to the UC? Yes. You should be able to go through and see the detailed agenda. That if you're not able to attend, definitely sign up for that digital access. If you are on I believe it's the maintenance section, if your organization's paying it into their maintenance to get their annual contract with Esri, you should have access to digital access at no charge. So with that, I would say if you're not able to attend, but you still want to see a session or two in there, absolutely sign up for the digital access. And while my colleague Joel's presenting, I'll find that link for it. Oh, missing for the first time in 27 years. That's too bad. I'm sorry about that. So anyway, any other questions surrounding UC? Perfect. Okay. Well, now we'll jump into one of our, what I call the Esri updates. And with a quick show of the React button, if you have seen, what I'd love for you to see is community maps. If you could give me a thumbs up in the chat, have you ever seen or utilized community maps? I'm seeing some come in. Okay, good. Sean has, good. A few others. Okay, so it's looking like not many people have utilized the community maps. So what actually is it? So let me just kind of go through here and answer that question. What is the Community Maps program? So I'm sure everyone here on our call has utilized the Esri base maps in some fashion. They, whether it be looking at buildings such as you're seeing here on the screen, the World Geocoding Service, if you've ever used that, and the base maps themselves. So this is a way, what the community maps basically is a way for organizations to submit their authoritative base map data. So that could be streets, that could be addresses, that could be buildings like you're seeing here. It's a way for you to combine or to submit this information to Esri. We have the teams that go and combine all of that and push it out to base maps such as this. So in a way, if you've ever used those base maps or the geocoding service or anything like that, in proxy, basically, you've been utilizing data coming in from the community maps program itself. All right. I'm sure a few of you are rolling your eyes at me and going, Corey, what does this have to do with me? What does this have to do with transit? Well, we have been working very closely with the team, and we are going to be now accepting GTFS submittals from transit organizations because you are the authority. Just how a local city could be the authority for streets, for addresses, or anything like that. When it comes to transit data, where your routes run, where are your stops, where are your stations, you all are the authority when it comes to that. And we've been working, I can speak for myself and Joel probably as well. We've been working tirelessly to get the data and the process going to where we can take straight GTFS submittals from all of you submitted to Esri that then can be put into these base maps. So any questions before I hand it over to my colleague Joel, who's going to kind of be going over that briefly? Well, we'll take as much time as you need, Joel. I say briefly for myself to keep going. But any questions on those? All right. If not, then Joel, I will hand it over to you, and you can take over.
Yep, and right now I'm just trying to get it to where it'll let me share through this interface. Sorry about that. If you have anything else you want to highlight about this, Corey.
Sure, I can do that. So we'll get to some of those things of what was driving us to do these, but let's be honest. When we're working with different agencies themselves, we always see, and let me give you an example. Southern California or Chicago area, Bay Area, we will come across this in multiple places to where there are more than one transit agency in that area. We see times that if you're going from, let's just say around our campus near Redlands, and you wanted to go into Los Angeles, you would be getting on a train run by one transit agency, going over to Grand Central within Los Angeles, and then that switching over to another transit agency. So there's Moat to me. Okay, there's these kind of things that let's see, share. Apologies for the technical issues here. Are you not able to present, Joel?
Oh, I had to give the permissions to be able to share, and which meant I had to drop in and out of the meeting. So sorry about that.
No worries. So this is one of those to where we see places to where having a conglomeration of GTFS data and other tools can be very helpful to see. So that was one of our reasons for pushing this forward, of being able to bring in this data. Now, why we chose GTFS is that something that every one of us works with. Every one of us who is in the transit industry, whether it be Los Angeles, Chicago, whoever, or down to a much smaller transit agency, we all work with GTFS. So that's one of those reasons why we're like, let's take a look at what the GTFS can bring. And I gotta admit, the tools that Joel and the community maps team have put together are amazing. So with that, Joel, I'll hand it over to you.
And one of the things I want to definitely echo what Corey's talking about, this has been a tremendous collaboration between the Community Maps program, my team, which happens to be the data engineering team inside of Business Analyst, and then also, of course, Corey reaching out and collaborating with a lot of you. I mean, Hannah, I have to give you a shout out. Your organization, Nashville WeGo, that's been some great data we prototyped against. That's what I built all this stuff around at the beginning. So this has been a huge collaborative effort, and I have to give Corey as well as Mike's team a tremendous amount of credit for working together to make this a reality. And so what I want to highlight here is to give you an idea of, first of all, if you want to contribute, we would love you to. We really like the participation, and we're very grateful for anything you can contribute and help us out with this. And if you're interested in doing this, and I want to also let Mike, if you have anything to add to this definitely is something that you've helped us out a lot on. So correct me anywhere where I'm speaking out of line, Mike. Mike Ridland happens to leads the team that's been helping us out on the community map side to get these submissions. So what we're talking about here, this is the landing page for the community maps program. And if you haven't seen this before, there's a number of different things you can do here. And the one we're really wanting to highlight here is the ability you have to share data. And when you come to this, you'll have a registration as well as a sign-in page. And I'm going to do a little bit of a solution engineering sleight of hand here and jump to another tab, because right now we currently have this in a beta program. So if you'll notice, my URL changed slightly. And so what I'm showing you is what happens when you log in. And once we have this live, this is what you'll see. Now, if you've ever used this interface before, there's a number of different things that you can contribute through this. But the one that's new, and the reason why I'm in the beta site right now, is you'll notice we have this transit is now one of the registered layers that we can work with. And what you can do is work with this GTFS submission. And what this is we just ask that you have an archive that has all of the GTFS files included in it. And in here, we need all the required files for this to work, in addition to one file that is not required, which is the shapes file, because that gives us the geometry of the lines for the transit lines. So other than that, provided it fulfills the requirements and has the shapes file that is one of the optional files, we'll be able to use it. So if you can validate the data and it passes validation and it has the shapes file, we'll be able to use it. Other than that, if you have all those text files in a zipped archive, you can just go grab the archive, and this happens to be the Nashville WeGo data that we've been coordinating and working against. So if we were to submit that, then the other thing is just to let us know what types of data are in here. For instance, I know that it's not always going to come in the same GTFS data set. So you may have, for instance, rail and then bus in different GTFS files. And that's great. We can definitely work with that. Just make sure that you help us out by just letting us know what's in there. So in this case, we would have rail and bus in there. And then from there, we can go ahead and say upload. And then at that point, this is where I then see the data, and I have a whole workflow where I go through and process it and then do a bunch of validation on it, make sure everything's okay. And then once we validate it and run some QA on it, then what's going to happen is it's going to land in ArcGIS Online. These 3 layers that I'm going to show you in a minute, these are going to be the layers that you will then see in Living Atlas once this goes live. And we have a pretty tight timeline on this. Like, we're trying to get this to where it's going to be ready for you to use by the time User Conference comes along. And I will say, I've been at Esri for close to 2 decades now, and the gray in my beard definitely shows it. But I've been at Esri close to 2 decades, and I will say I've never seen anything move this fast. It has been it's really exciting. I've been really pleased with it. And it is due to how well that Mike's team, as well as Corey's team, we've all been working together to really move this forward fast. And so this is going to be ready before User Conference, and we will have these 3 layers available in Living Atlas. To show you what these look like, what we've done is I've just tossed them all together into an app that we can take a look at here. We have all of the data to where we have the stops. And if you're going in and putting in the colors that you like to see the line symbolized as, we have one of these layers set up so that it will show that. So in this case, this layer is showing the colors that Nashville WeGo has included in the GTFS, those 6-digit hex codes, to say, this is the color I would like to see these as. So we have that data set up, but we've also gone through and set up another layer. So we have 2 different layers, one that shows the lines by modality as well, so that way, and these are somewhat more subtle, but we can see for instance, the rail is blue and the bus is sort of a deep teal in this instance. And so we have those 2 different colors set up. And of course, we also have the ability to turn those stops on and off. And then we have this for a few different localities already. We have, obviously, Nashville did a great job of giving us data to start out with. And then recently, I have to be grateful for Los Angeles gave us a bunch of data. So shout out as well to Los Angeles. And then we can see all the different stops as well as the transit lines in here. And again, we can switch to also looking at it by the color that was submitted in those hex codes. We do, if a color isn't submitted, just assign it a gray color. And that's one of the reasons why I'm also showing Los Angeles. A lot of the bus lines didn't have a color, and that's great. It's not required. We don't need it. We don't expect it. But we'll just show it as a gray color in that case. So we provide a default as well. And then also, I'd be remiss not to also acknowledge Salt Lake gave us a great data set as well that we have. And I will say, I was very pleased to see that there is a bus line that can take me all the way up to Alta. I'm a skier, so I was really excited about that. I can get off at the airport and I can take public transit the whole way to the base. I thought that was pretty awesome. So anyway, this has been some great work, and I'm really pleased with the collaboration. I'm really excited about seeing where this goes. And again, we're planning on having this ready by the time User Conference comes along to have this be all live, to where we're submitting data that you're putting in. We're making it available to everybody who's uses ArcGIS Online and Living Atlas. I don't know if there's anything else that Mike or Corey wants to chime in on this before I wrap it up, but I'm just going to say I'm really excited about this project, and it's going to be even better when you decide to join us in this project, because it's designed to be an engine that's really driven by what you contribute. So really excited about it. And then Corey, I'll let you field the question about real time because I know you've been doing some great stuff on that.
So I think, is that you, Anika? Is that you who raised your hand?
Yes, actually,
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
it's okay. I was gonna ask the very same question about RT GTFS, so I'll wait to hear what you guys say. Thank you.
Of course. Yes. So before we get to the GTFS RT, there's one part that one of the biggest reasons why we wanted to go through this program itself, the community maps, and I'll let my colleague Mike get into that, is the community maps program is designed for incremental updates. So anytime that there's, like you, Joel, would you bring up that list of what you can submit?
Oh, yes. Right there. There we go.
Right there. So if you expand addresses can be, there could be new addresses added. There could be ones that are taken away. The data is constantly evolving. If you think of, say, a local city, a new subdivision come in, so they need to add these addresses in there. New roads come in, those need to be added in there. That's what the community maps program does amazing, is it can be as a mechanism for when those updates happen on these other layers. Now, for all of you within transit, we know systems change. You have several times a year different, we call them service changes. I've heard shakeups, write-ups, markups, whatever the terminology you use. There's going to be system changes. That's where this community maps interface, like you're seeing right here. Once you complete your service change process and you have your new GTFS, that's where with this submittal process, you can just, all right, just upload that to us. Those changes that you made will then be pushed to these. So yes, this is the mechanism of being able to bring all that in and have updates happen is one of the biggest reasons why we utilize this community maps program. Question came in from Drew, non-GTF areas like on-demand transit zones. That's a great point. We hadn't actually looked at that yet. We were just looking at the GTFS data. So Drew, I know I wanted to, let's discuss this more, you and I'd love to get this because I see, demand zones, TAZ zones, all these kind of things could be phase 2 of this. Sorry, Mike, I'm already talking phase 2, but this whole process is absolutely evolving for sure.
And one
Absolutely.
of the things also that Stacy brought up a good point is through this program, we also have the ability, and one of the things here where we talk about editing features, this brings up a feature editor and it allows, and I have to admit, this goes into a much longer demo than I want to do at this point to highlight the editor. But it is something that I do want to highlight is that if you want to add a lot of detail to your stations, these highly detailed areas can show up. And one of the things that we do have the ability to do, and I just put it in here so that we can take a look at it, is it's designed exactly for this purpose to have extremely detailed areas. In this case, we're looking at a campus, but the idea that you can go in and put a tremendous amount of detail, even down to, you notice the grid lines on they don't call it a gridiron for nothing, do they? And so you even have the football grid lines. You can put in a tremendous amount of detail in this. And in fact, one of the areas that we've been thoroughly entertained by is where our campus is at. Stacy is my boss, our collective boss, 2 levels up. One of her favorite things to do is to go in and add extremely detailed drawings. And I was trying to remember, I won't bore you by fumbling around a tremendous amount, but let's see if I can find it fast. Yes, this is a new transit station. This is the Esri campus in Redlands. There's a new transit station that was a Metrolink station, and our boss Helen went in and digitized all of this, so you can see where the platform is, even down to the landscaping and the sidewalks. So this is, if you're combining both of these submissions, the ability to add extremely detailed drawings of your stations, put that into the base maps as well as the GTFS data, that's going to really give us a tremendous resource to provide to everybody that uses Esri Maps.
Okay, we got another comment from David. Be nice to highlight bus bike connections as well. Yes, I think, David, that would be very, very helpful when it comes to those. We're setting up right now, like I said, for the GTFS, but this might be one of those additional items that we could look at for phase two. And again, sorry, Mike, I'm expanding this as we talk through this, but this is why I love this group, is that, to be honest, I hadn't even thought of bus bike connections in all of our meetings that we're talking about this. Getting your input is huge in this. So yes, thank you for that. Anything else before I jump into the GTFS real-time portion? Oh, Aaron had one. Integrate schedule from the GTFS into the map. Oh, Aaron, you're reading my mind. When we're done with this, I'm going to show one of the workflows that we're looking at utilizing this for that does take schedule into account with that for sure. Oh, Anika, what else you got?
Tons of questions, Corey. Tons of
Yes.
questions. You know my mind is spinning. So just to follow on to that question, as you know, many of us have, most of us have either HASTAS or gosh, what is the other one? Trapeze. Yeah, and it would be nice to know. I've not dabbled in that area for many years, but it'd be nice to know if there are any updates on the integration or possible integration between HASTAS/Trapeze and Esri. Yeah, because I'm trying to encourage my team to come off of what they're using right now in terms of a base map. So just putting that out there.
Anika, you're so good at this because yes, there has been progress made. I wanted to bring things up to this, but unfortunately we're still working on contracts wise.
Gotcha.
I can't really bring up everything.
No problem. All I need to know is you're working on it.
Anika, it is probably priority one on my list at the moment.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
You know what? Let's you and I talk a little more after this. I want to bring that up to you as well.
Sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, some more things are rolling in. Aaron, like I mentioned, we're going to show some of the things that we can do with that for sure. Davida, can we give you static GTFS web link so it could updates without us every quarter? Mike, are you still on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So Mike is from the Community Maps program. Is there a way that the submitters can give us a link and we just go to that, or do we need them to upload that each time?
When they provide the GTFS data sets, they'll log into the Community Maps web app and provide the data set each time.
Okay.
So Joel demonstrated that. Basically pick with the pick list which transit themes you're providing. Okay. And so you can have multiple uploads with different themes if you want. Yes.
Okay. So I think that answers the question there, Davida. And actually, there's another one. I believe Vonnie also has that. So yes, there is that upload process with that. So anyway, we can, with all of these, I say, if any of you are interested in signing up for this, please ping me, send me an email or anything like that to where we can go through some of these logistics with you and help you understand what it is. Because, like I said, it's still in beta. We haven't released this yet. There's still some things to be worked out on the Esri side, but I'm almost going to say this is the process that we're going to be doing, but I want to help you through those. So anyway, the chat is kind of going crazy right now, but could the automated? So yes, for those of you who are interested, please, I will go through the chat and make sure we have all of these, but especially those uploads for sure. Okay, real time. We the GTFS real time, we brought this up in some of our initial meetings. At the moment, the process that we have to bring these into the Living Atlas is only for the static data files right now, because the real-time data needs a processing mechanism, say either ArcGIS Velocity or GeoEvent Server, to be able to do those. So we have not looked at yet the ability to bring in multiple GTFS real-time feeds to show data on the map of, like, say, moving buses or moving trains or so on. So I don't want to say it won't happen, but I don't want to say it will happen. With there's some great tools out there, but to be able to get the GTFS in there, the GTFS real time in there, there's just more mechanisms needed. And so that's why this first round, we stuck with just static files, because those change every so often and all that. So with that, I would say, again, I don't want to say it won't happen, but I don't want to say it will happen. I'm playing very much the middle of the ground here, but I can tell you we have looked at at the GTFS real time. I use that almost daily. I'm looking at other people, agencies' feeds and so on. So yes, the GTFS real time is very much on our radar. We're putting together tools for those. But as far as the community maps, I would say there's no plans as of yet. And Mike, if I'm stepping out of line and saying anything, please tell me, Corey, shut up. But yeah, with those, that's kind of where we're at with the GTFS real time. Okay. All right. There's a lot of things in the chat. I might have to go through those and follow up with each one of you afterwards. Like, I'm seeing one about railroad ownership. Another things about automation and so on. So yes, if I can't get to everything in the chat, I will follow up with you for sure. Any other questions around the community maps? What the process is, the submittals, what we're going to be using the data for, and so on. Anything like that? Okay. Joel, thank you so much for the demonstration here. As you can probably tell, the excitement is there. I think it's going to be awesome that I've already got a couple people in here saying they're going to sign up for it. And I'm sure there'll be more after that. So wonderful. Thank you for that. Let me go back to sharing here. Okay. All right. So let's put our mind forward a little bit here. We've got some data flowing in here. We've got some GTFS data. I always like doing what I call the art of the possible. And we have questions. So one of the things that we have been toying with of utilizing this rich data, not only locations of the transit lines, not only to, who's was that? I think it was you, Aaron, who were talking about schedule. And I kind of was like, hey, you're jumping ahead with what I want to show here, is the ability to, if we know where the routes are, what the schedule is, what's other things that we can do that can bring that data together, as you can see I say in here, with business analysts. This is something that we're prototyping, and that this data coming in via community maps will help us build more of these types of concepts. And we're calling it a transit accessibility index. Now that's a fancy way of saying, again, what is it? So first off, we're combining data from not only your transit data, your stops, your schedule, your days of service, but also with business locations with NAICS information. So with this, we're able to take point level business data combine it with transit data for what's the nearest stop. How far away is the stop from this business? How many trips go by this particular stop or this particular business every day, every weekend? What are the service days? So if it's a Monday through Thursday route, or is it a 7-day-a-week route? What are the service hours? And the number of stops nearby around that. Say if it's a transfer point, if it is all kinds of other things. So with that, we were able to take all of this data. We prototyped this in a couple places. One of them is Los Angeles, and we'll see that here in a second. But this ability to show the I don't want to call it demand, but how accessible is this particular business to transit? So with that, let me just jump over here. And this is one, like we mentioned, we brought in that Los Angeles data. And we were able to take that along with the rich, I mean, crazy amount of wonderful information within the business analyst toolbox. And we can go through here and actually see each one of these businesses and their proximity to transit and how much their business, let's say, could benefit from having that data within and having that transit data with them. So with that, there's a spot that I want to look at. So here you can see all of this. These are individual businesses provided through a business partner we have called Data Axle. And you can see here's the rail line for LA Metro with the bus lines and the stops. Now, each one of these businesses are color coded based off of that accessibility score. So if I were to select any one of these, this is Royal Group. It's a real estate office, has 5 employees. And then these are those totals. You can see it's right next to a couple of transit lines, but there's no direct access right from that one to the rail, to LA Metro Rail. But if I go closer to where the rail station is, you can see how those colors, so the closer you get to that purple hue, that higher that transit accessibility index is. And with that, then you can go through and see each one of these businesses. Like here is one, it's an investment group, has 3 employees, but it is very close to that particular rail station. Now, I mentioned proximity is one of these. If you have some of these routes that say don't have weekend service, or is the span of service doesn't go much into the evening hours or anything like that, that can vary each one of these numbers themselves. That can reduce or increase that score. Anika, you're up. What you got?
Sorry, this is my data, so of course I have.
I know it is, and I would expect nothing less.
It would be nice to see, and this is, I'm putting my my math hat on here. It would be nice to see what that composite index is comprised of, because there may be some additional things that we want to include on that index score. That was it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, and so to give you a heads up, I'm also the one working on this. This is the reason why I got tapped to do the processing as well, because I've been working with the data a lot and I'm very familiar with it. And this, in fact, was very much a version, I'd call it a 0.01. We're working on an updated version now, but to give you just a highlight, and we're building a lot of documentation to go along with this to make sure that we're very transparent about how we're doing this. We want this to be something that you can understand and you can be vested in if you want to be. But what we're taking into is a lot of things like, is there service at night? Is there multiple modalities available? So for instance, is there bus as well as rail as well as light rail? So if you have a major station, that will score much higher. We're looking at things like how frequent is service, and so all of this is going into consideration when we're thinking about building this score. And one of the things that we're working on now is the ability, we're also applying a sigmoid double S-shaped distance decay curve to a walking distance from these locations to take into account the walkability to the station with all these surrounding factors. So all of this is rolling up into it. And ultimately, kind of in the back of my mind, what we're really doing is taking into account transit. It won't be hard for us to start rolling in other things and apply the same model to start trying to move toward this 15-minute city concept of how walkable and public transit accessible is an entire metropolitan area. So it's something that you can tell I'm very interested in, and Corey can tell you I deliberately live close enough so I can walk to work every day. So this is something I think about on a very, very frequent basis.
Very cool. I'm very interested. Yeah.
We'll definitely keep you on the loop, Anika, when it comes to this. As you can see, you're the LA Metro, where Anika works at, is the prototype that we're doing this for. Now, one thing I did want to point out there was a question in the chat about the other end of residential accessibility. Very good point. That one we haven't looked at. We looked at the business data because that's the team that really brought this up, was the business analyst team. But that's
that last tab there. If you want to switch over, Corey, please, to Los Angeles Block Group. This really isn't, I would say, a centroid calculation. We want to get much more to a regular geometry calculation. But just to address that idea of understanding a little bit more about where people are coming from, the idea of a residential, all I did in this case was I just took a median of the points that were, a mean of the points that fell within each one of these block groups. But yes, to that end, this is something we're definitely moving towards, is to apply this to regular or standard geographies or geometries, however you want to refer to them, so that we can have a much more complete picture, not just where businesses are going, and that has a tremendous amount of value to the businesses, but also from the standpoint of where people are coming from, apply it to the entire area.
Absolutely. Hannah, you have a question.
Yeah. So one of the things that we look at when we're doing kind of major service changes, or, when we did our COA for our agency, was changes in access to jobs, and based on service changes that we're implementing. And we do have a product that we use, and I think the licensing is coming up soon, but it's called Conveil. And so they provide these isochrone maps of a before and after, showing you kind of a difference in, if we implement this service, if we change the frequency of this route or this group of routes, this is the number of jobs that are accessible within, a 60-minute or 30-minute kind of travel time on transit. And I could see this being even more so elevated with business analysts and what kind of data points that are available within there. And so I'm just kind of wondering if that's on the roadmap at all, with utilizing this tool, is kind of quantifying how changes to transit service can spread the access to jobs for people who live in that area.
So Hannah, you're definitely on track with this. At the beginning, as Corey had alluded to, I work on the business analyst team. So we're really focusing on business enablement tools. And the initial driver, the initial motivation is exactly what you're talking about, Hannah, is not only what businesses have access to from the standpoint of customers coming to them, but also employees. And in fact, the same woman that we were talking about, who loves to digitize all the transit stations, one of the things that she really talks about a lot of the times when she demonstrates this is looking at it from the standpoint of where employees are coming from. Many times looking at, is transit available to employees that potentially may be working service jobs in a lot of these areas? And because a lot of times, especially, she likes to highlight LA a lot, looking at where potential employees could be coming from to different areas that have a high density of service level jobs. And that filter that Corey was just highlighting, looking at being able to filter the block points, where he was saying the NAICS sector description right there, that's exactly what we're talking about. In fact, we put that filter in there to talk about this exact point in a demonstration, Hannah. So you're
Mhm.
definitely right on track with thinking about that. And in fact, if you're interested in this, especially as we get it really comes down to my boss is actually in this meeting, Stacy. She can tell you as soon as I get a little more breathing room, this is going to be the next thing that I tackle, is really getting the momentum going on this. So honestly, I'm writing your name down in my notebook because I'm going to contact you for feedback if you're interested, because we
Yeah.
Nicole doesn't
love to
like
get
working
the
with
type of
Esri at
feedback.
all.
No, I'm definitely interested in this because, and it goes beyond just jobs. You were kind of limited because there's a lot of coding that needs to happen within Conveil. It's kind
Mhm.
of, there's a lot of labor involved in it, but, something else that we're looking into and what we're wanting to partner more with is healthcare facilities, SNAP,
Mhm.
access to SNAP and EBT. So these are all kinds of questions that we get. We're looking to pass a transit referendum here in Nashville, and these kind of data points are cumbersome to get.
Mhm.
But I know that there's definitely ways to get there. It just kind of takes a lot of effort and
Yes,
kind of
I'm well
training
aware.
too. So yeah. So if you guys could do the work for us,
Right?
so yeah, no, I'm happy to jot my name down to help out because this would be very useful.
Excellent. Thank you
So
so much.
Joel
yeah, thank you.
doesn't need sleep. I'll get him on it right away.
None of us really sleep, do we?
Yeah, right.
Thank you very much for the feedback.
Yeah.
I had to pop out of the meeting for a few minutes, but have you guys demoed the business analyst infographic utilizing
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, great. We're gonna
Not
cover all the
yet.
business related. Okay, awesome.
So with that, let me just bring up what Stacy is talking about. Is her team has done an amazing job of putting these infographics together. So if you've never used the infographics in Business Analyst, they give you a lot of great information in a very easily digestible format. So let me make sure this is, sorry, I should have had it pulled up. Okay. There we go. So here's an example of one that, personally, I believe this is yours, right, Stacy? This one is yours.
That one is mine. That's
Yes.
correct.
So this is one of the tools, if you've seen the work that we put together for our transit planning software, to where I can just select a location on the map. I'll just select this location. First of all, it does is creates 5, 10, and 15-minute walk sheds around that area. Now I take that location and pass it into this infographic that the business analyst team, Stacy, put together. And you're able to get incredible amounts of quick and useful information within this, like 5-minute walk. There's 930 people. Average household size, the median income or medium household income, what's nearby. So utilizing that business data, there's 400 businesses, 6 apartment buildings, 4 landmarks, 5 arts and entertainment. We've got information around Title VI of what's the language spoken, number of households with no vehicle. And there's even information here on page 2, so we get deeper into that Title VI information. The poverty level, minority status, and transportation to work. Anyway, there's all kinds of this information that is out there, and we're taking the location, bringing in transit data. Anyway, I hope you can see the type of emphasis that we're putting on here at Esri to be able to bring you these transit related information at your fingertips. So this is one that we've got going on here. I mean, there's another one we've made specifically for Title VI. So there's so much information that we were working on with this, and wow, the chat is blowing up. So I'll have to get to that. Make sure I'll respond to every one of those, absolutely. But I hope this gives you a sense between work here in, wow, the Little Rascals Learning Center. I didn't know that I had clicked on the Little Rascals Learning Center. But we have those walk, the walk information. So 5-minute, 10-minute walk. So then you can see how those change and go through. Between this, the accessibility index, bringing all of this data together within ArcGIS. That's the key. We're bringing all this together. So,
Hey, Corey.
absolutely, yes, Stacey.
Yeah. Going back to that infographic, I just wanted to make clear, if you go back to page 1, where it shows 0 transit stops, what's going to end up happening is the community maps, the service that's built from the community maps contributions. That infographic will update automatically. It will go out and find whatever has been, when complete, it'll go out and find whatever has been contributed and is in that area. You could certainly set it up to something of your own, but yeah, it'll say something like 20 transit stops, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then those nearby things too. If you click on those, Corey, those are actually interactive, and so you can see like the apartment buildings that are close by, the hospitals, whatever it is you might be interested in, and you can change the categories that you want to see on these infographics. If you're particularly interested in some other form of business, those are pulling off our point of interest data, like the data axle data set that we looked at just a few minutes ago. So yeah, just wanted to add a little extra information there.
Oh, you've added some amazing information in here. So I see one question in the chat. Is this, I believe, Sean, is this experience builder publicly available? Not at the moment, no. This is still in development. You're getting a sneak peek. We're going to be showing this extensively at the user conference. But, this being able to bring this data in here, compare that to your route data, selecting on here, being able to quickly gather cost estimates, Title VI, demographics, this is all coming together. So that's where we're at. So anyway, back to here. Any other questions about the transit accessibility? We're at the top of the hour. I want to make sure I preserve as much time for our or our open forum. But any other questions before we go on to that?
The only other thing I wanted to add, Corey, I'm going to try to get that transit infographic, into our October ArcGIS Online release of Business Analyst. So hopefully that'll be publicly available before too long.
Wonderful. And that ability to Stacey's point of those nearby transit stops is going to point to that data that we are asking you to help us put together. So it's a group effort, absolutely. So any other questions on that? And during the public forum, I'll go through the chat and make sure I'm not missing anything, but anything else before I hand it over to all of you?
Okay, I got one more thing, Corey. I just want to make sure we called out Melinda, who I saw on the call earlier. Don't know if you talked to Melinda, but she's got a great set of public transit tools.
Absolutely,
all the time. So, if you haven't checked out our public transit toolbox, definitely do so. Melinda's done a great job with that. So
yes, thank you, Melinda. Those tools in the Network Analyst toolset in Pro, I use all the time. I'm sure many people on here have used. So thank you for that.
Sure thing. And to follow up on Hannah's comment earlier about experimenting with changes to your transit service and how that impacts access to jobs and stuff, you can do that with our network analyst tools currently. It's not like a magic push button where you just put in your data and it does it for you. Unfortunately, you have to create your own transit enabled network data set and then run some analysis with your own points. But it is possible with labor using those tools.
Oh, that's good to know. Thanks, Melinda. I
Sure thing.
might bug you about that later.
Yeah, definitely. If you have questions, reach out and I'd be happy to help.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Well, with that, open it up to everyone. I'm glad we added the extra time because then we would have taken it all up again. So anyway, feel free, take yourself off mute, ask a question of the group. Any feedback, any questions, please, I'd love to hear.
All right, Corey, this is Robert Graham.
Okay, hi, Robert.
Thank you. I didn't, the awkward silence, so I thought I'd step in. And I saw someone else is asking the same question, and I know we're meeting about this tomorrow, but the transit data model, or that other people were asking about transit centers data model. I'm after bus stops, but
yes. So yes, with that, I know Melinda has done a good job of putting together a data model around the network analyst tools, but a follow-up that I wanted to know for you, Robert, is this is around amenities and location, compliance, those kind of things. Is that correct? Or what kind of data model are you looking for?
Yeah, amenities, locations, facilities management, maintenance kind of work that's going on. So we're going to have to plug in, some like quick capture or some field maps data for people to keep updating as things change.
Yes. So I have been working especially with, I'm going to give her a lot of the credit to Hannah. We spent, how many days did we spend working on putting together this kind of a data model, Hannah? 2?
3 days.
3 days?
3 days in person, and then many other days in between virtually. So it's been an ongoing process. It evolves as
correct.
Different workflows kind of come up to be useful within this. The data model keeps evolving, so
it does. And with any kind of data models like this, I always say, what I hear talking to each one of you, we get about 70, 75% similarities between agency to agency. It's never going to be one size, fits all with this. Let me share my screen. I can show you, you're getting a little bit of a preview of one of the things that I'm going to be showing at User Conference. So this is one with that brainstorming, I guess that's a good way of calling it, that I had with Hannah. This is one of a service and a data model that I put together that brings a lot of those in. So if I were to say, I want to choose stop 716, and for my friends at Valley Metro, you're probably recognizing, I utilized you as the start with this. So by choosing a specific bus stop here, so I chose stop 716, it zoomed in there. One, I get a great overall view of this particular stop with a great photo. I see what jurisdiction it's in, what bus stop type it is. A summary of what's there. So shelter, there's one shelter, two bike racks, 2 benches, a trash can. What's the ADA compliance with that? Has it been inspected? And is there any open maintenance requests? So this is designed to really take this point and then go a step further. Let's go and look at each one of those individual amenities. So I can see here is the overall view, individual information about each bench. You can see I'm still filling in the photos and everything here. So this is bench with the stop ID, the bench, the type, if you're replacing bench 1 or bench 2. If you're doing that kind of maintenance, you need to know which one it is, what condition each one of them are in. So you can go through and see each one of those here, as well as ADA compliance. Does this meet each one of the requirements within the ADA status, as well as Title VI information? So this particular stop, within a quarter of a mile of the stop, the minority percent is at just under 42%, whereas the service area is 49. So this is below minority percentage for Title VI. So this is one of that data model of really getting into everything you really need to know about that particular stop, as well as maintenance. So there's some maintenance issues that come in. And I will say that I have mobile workflows, especially for the maintenance teams and the ADA compliance. And I'm still working on ridership. So bringing in the ridership data too. So this is that, I look at this as that overarching view of what is at the stop, what is there, how is it complying, what's going on with that. So in a 30,000 foot view, that's what that data model that I was talking with you about, Robert. And if you wanted to, let me bring this over so you can see the actual data itself. I have it hosted in ArcGIS Online. This is one that can be done in Enterprise within Portal. It can be kept locally if you want, but here is, it's contained in one particular service. So I've got bus stops. I have a different point layer for the amenities, different one for the maintenance. Here's the routes themselves, and then related tables that go with that. So very drinking from the fire hose type of information with that, Robert. And we can go more into this tomorrow. But this is where I've taken the work that Hannah and I put together, the information, thanks to my good friends at Valley Metro for letting me use their data as a start to this. But this view of having a single location to be able to go to and see everything operationally and with your bus stops themselves. That's really where this is going. So thoughts? What do you think about that, Robert? If you're talking, you're on mute.
Yeah, no. I like it. Yeah, it was definitely yeah, we'll talk more tomorrow, but going through the data itself and seeing the relationships, you know, as things change over time, you know, and things get archived, how do we maintain all that? And then I really want us to integrate with our facilities management folks and you know, to be able to update things.
Absolutely. Oh, go ahead. Did I hear
was gonna
something?
say, Corey, it's Davida.
Yes.
If your friends at Valley Metro ever decide that they don't want you to use their data, you talk to me, because you can have all of the Tucson data you want.
We'll keep it in Arizona, or just take a trip to the south.
Well, because I keep following everything that you do for them. The infographic was amazing. And I appreciate that you pulled in the Title VI information too.
Correct. And
now,
one thing
now I have somebody else besides me that can do GIS. So I think we need to have another conversation.
Please, I'm happy to. And really, Davida, you brought up a good point. And I throw this out to the group as well, is you said that you had yourself and one other person to do all the GIS. Hannah, you don't have that problem, do you? Oh, wait, yes, you do. We talked about that yesterday. I'm sure a lot of you still have that problem yourselves, is we might have myself and one other person to do all the GIS.
Yeah, she's been here a month. She still has to learn trapeze and everything else to do her job. So 1 month. So it would be great to be able to have more access to at least see the solutions, so that we know to give us ideas of how we can make our jobs easier.
And that's, you know, that what you just described, Davida, is really my end goal, is to take these types of workflows, get them 75, 80% ready to where we can hand them over to you, and then you can take with that, make it your own, but we have really helped you push that boulder up the hill. I'm using a lot of metaphors here, so I apologize for that. But that's the kind of thing that we're trying to do. So.
Appreciate it.
Of course.
Hey, Corey.
Yes, Jeff.
This is Jeff Wilkerson with Valley Metro. You can use our data for as long as you want.
Sorry, Davida. We just got the real.
I knew they would come out of the woodwork. I knew.
Oh, that's funny.
But
thanks for jumping on that, Jeff.
I appreciate you helping me with some, being able to access information from other layers with
Mhm.
inside the map using Arcade. And I
Oh, yeah.
think, you know, my interest in business analysts, I've been interested in it for a while. I was, as you know, was trying to set up something in Experience Builder, but I think I was trying to set up for the wrong user. I was trying to set up for our member agencies, those people at a higher level that would want to get access to general information, kind of like what you were showing in that transit planner, I guess you're calling it. And I guess because of licensing issues and you can't open up business analysts to the public, you're really looking at the power user, the planners that are using that tool on a day-to-day basis. And you know, it's beautiful for that. I think, you know, kudos for you and your team for setting that up. But I can see now the separation of powers that if you will, that you know, really when you get down to what you're doing with this transit planner, that really is kind of the level I was thinking about, and the functionality there you can open up to the general public.
Absolutely.
Am I on base here with that thought?
Oh, yeah. What I was showing in that first one of the transit planner, that I selected a route and all of that information for that route was open. That's all utilizing Arcade and querying those other data sets, especially Living Atlas. So that's where we want all of your transit data to evidently end up, is in the Living Atlas. So anyway, I hope you're seeing that data flow from your own authoritative data into the community maps program, into the business analyst, into this, which ends up in the Living Atlas, and then open to everyone. That's, you're following that directly, 100%, Jeff.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, this is Vani from.
Hi, Vani.
Hey, this is what I was exactly reaching out to you, the experience builder that you built for the workflow for the amenities data.
Okay.
So this is available as a solution right now. Is that right? Or
as of right now, no. This is still rolling around a little bit up in my brain. I'm working with a couple other people here within Esri for this, guys like Joel and Stacy and everyone's team like that. We are definitely trying to get those as accessible as possible. As a solution, we are not there yet, but I can tell you we are working with the solutions team directly to bring transit specific solutions into those easily deployable workflows.
this is something that I was trying to, that was the reason I reached out to you earlier. This is the kind of thing that we want to maintain. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
And on one other note about the GTFS feed uploading,
okay.
I strongly believe that once we provide a link, a published link to Living Atlas, Living Atlas should be able to grab it on a scheduled basis or like when there is a change. If that is not the case, what I'm afraid of is a lot of data will be stale. So
yes, and I can tell you I'm working with Mike and his team on those, on best practices. Mike, are you still on or did you have to drop?
No, I'm here, Corey.
Okay. And right, Mike, we've talked about those of being able to going out and just grabbing those. Do you have any other data sets that we go to a specific location to pull that, or what's usually the best method for those?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I'm just looking at chat. There's several people who are asking about the same thing, so we might as well acknowledge, like with
Yes.
this forthcoming release of the Community Maps contributor app, the thing that Joel demoed, we're supporting GTFS zip file uploads with that release. In future, that could be something to talk about with some sort of service delivery model. I just don't know. There's a lot of moving parts. We do that with community maps for things like live feeds and things like a community wanting to send us their REST endpoint to their building footprints that we go out and update and like basically fetch every 6 months and ingest that into our big database. So there is precedent for other sorts of layers to be supported that way. But that's just not supported yet or at the moment for GTFS transit data. On the radar, something that we'll talk about, but later in the year, conversations internally, I would expect, and no promises, but I'm really glad people are saying and making those comments in chat about that being important. So thank you.
Thanks for that, Mike. And yeah, I think we're all getting that information over there too, and very well. So I know that I plan on taking the chat information and sharing it with all my colleagues here at Esri. So that way we know who is asking these kind of questions and who to respond to most definitely. Okay. Anything else that anyone else would like to bring up? We've got about 10 more minutes in our open forum.
Well, I don't like to hog the time, but if nobody else has anything to bring up, I did just put something into the chat about GIS and EAM systems, so asset management. I'm curious how people are currently doing this with their bus stops. We've, if anyone has seen what we've presented here from Nashville on the workflows that we've developed, we've really gone towards using the ArcGIS system to do all of our field work and management of our bus stops, including our shelters and benches and everything. So right now what we're working towards is an EAM system that is agency-wide of all of our assets. And, you know, the emphasis right now is on fleet, but there is also the component of how you manage your bus stop assets as well. And so I'm curious if there's any experience out there of people using EAM for certain aspects of this versus GIS system, and what maybe what that experience has been. I'm biased because obviously I have you know, a tie to how we are currently developing and envisioning our geospatial database around our bus stops and hosting that information in there and deploying our field teams with field maps and all the mobile applications that are available through Esri. So what that linkage is between what is occurring in the field and, you know, how we are managing inventory and other asset management related topics. And I realize that this is a very, very loaded question. There's a lot of different ways that you could take this. So any thoughts on that? I guess I would accept any input or experience.
My mind, I was hoping Somerset you would actually jump in on this. You're the first one I thought of when I came up with EAM. She said,
I can jump in.
Sorry,
Oh,
I had to unmute myself. So yeah, UTA is buying into the huge trapeze EAM system, and I've yet to see a demo on it, but allegedly the integration with Esri and trapeze is supposed to be something fabulous. But as far as it goes to the bus stop management, I haven't even seen a demo on where we're going to be with like GTFS. So that's where we're moving in the future. And Hannah, if you're going to be at the UC this summer, I'll probably know more information by that point, I hope. But yeah, I hoping for the best because we're on a very old version of trapeze right now. So I think it's only can go up from here.
Regarding the trapeze EAM, our maintenance AGM loves it. The only way we're using EAM right now in Tucson with the bus stop management is that's where all of our procurement is. So all of our parts that we're ordering for maintenance of the bus stops is all in there. Most of our bus stop management right now is actually in FX, and we are moving to a GIS Esri solution for ADA accessibility, which will also be our bus stop management. So I'm looking forward to Esri and Trapeze's partnership more than I can tell you.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at the EAM aspect, we haven't figured out how to incorporate the bus stop with it, other than it manages all of our parts. But I do know that our maintenance team, they love EAM. If that helps.
Yeah, and
We at Valley Metro, we started out with a group that was interested in asset management. We built collector entry points for them, showed them how we could put them online, and they were real interested in them. But I think they had long thought about a internal EA that was part of the SAP that was being developed. And so we went through a bunch of companies, and they actually selected Trapeze. And I was on one of the selection committees for GIS just to understand how each of these companies would connect to GIS. And Trapeze said they easily connected. When they came on board, they didn't easily connect. And we worked through, probably took us about 3 months to actually work through how they could actually, every time they created or removed an asset, it actually updates that information in ArcGIS Online. And they're actually not using that functionality right now because it's an administrative function that they haven't turned on. They just don't see the benefits of how that data, who would actually need to see that outside of their group. But with the caveat that Valley Metro doesn't own any bus stops. Everything that they're taking account of is primarily not, transit, rider based related. It's really, inside of the shop, the maintenance part of the whole functionality. And we do own all of our light rail stations. And then, so they're looking at things like switches and lights and, things for the maintenance that occur at those. And they're using Trapeze for this to this day, and they like it. But what Corey was showing you earlier, as far as assets at each of the bus stops, we started out, Ben Davidson wrote survey 123 years ago that we used to collect that information. And maybe actually Corey built some of that first one. We're actually talking about moving that into field maps now to kind of do another update. But there's 7,000 active and 9,000 bus stops that we're looking at, but we don't own one of them. So we're looking at something like field maps to help us engage all the member agencies, the cities basically, to help us collect that information through that particular tool. But yeah, when it comes to actually, getting down to the nuts and bolts and things that have to be maintained and understanding warranties and all of that, they went with that Trapeze EAM product, and I think they like it. But like I said, we still haven't got that turned on to accessing GIS.
Mika, did you have something?
Yes, so I gotta leave, but I did want to say just kudos to the Esri team. It took you guys a while to get to transit. I'll put that out there, but we're happy to have, I think all of us can say that we're happy to have, this level of, attention and detail, paid to, our part of the industry. It's a complicated, industry that has lots of parts, especially for us, bigger agencies. And so it's really nice to see all these tools really starting to come together. So kudos to you guys for, for looking out for us. Yeah,
Always.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
thanks, Mika. You've been a great partner in helping us to expand and get all this going. So we appreciate you guys as well.
Thank you.
Stephen, I think you were going to chime in too on the EAM question.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna put something in the chat there. We're from TransLink in the Vancouver, Canada area. And yeah, we've been using Hexagon EAM for a number of years. And we used to have just like an isolated bus stop management system that was purely Esri based. And then, I don't know, maybe 7 years ago or so, we imported all of those bus stops into, well, at the time it was Infor EAM, now it's Hexagon EAM. So that's our, you know, our asset management system for our bus stops, and with the Esri integration. So yeah, I think it's going quite well. We also manage our bus trolley poles in that system. So yeah, just thought I'd add that.
Cool. Thank you for
that's helpful. Yeah, that's one. Hexagon's one of them on our short list. We're developing an RFP right now. Basically, is where we're at in the process, and trying to determine where bus stops fit into that. And Trapeze EAM has definitely come up through the conversations in developing this RFP, as well as Hexagon and Maxima were the kind of the top three. And you know, just spending the last 3 years, we've been using this Esri workflow for 3 years now, and it's worked really well. And we've only continued to expand our vision for where we see that going. So the next thing is ADA assessments, and so I'm curious, like how I guess these customized additional workflows, how that happens in EAM. If it's a smooth process, if we like that process, or, you know, do we continue to go down our development in Esri? And my take is that we continue to develop what we have envisioned. And I just got kind of hit with a ton of bricks yesterday by our consultants saying that it's not necessarily best practice. So yeah.
I think this kind of discussion, you're not alone in this, Hannah. Just from what I'm hearing from everyone else, the different vendors that I've heard mentioned, I've heard across the industry. So trust me that whenever these kind of questions come up, we do pay attention about best practice on the Esri side, and we will definitely get you what you need.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious what that looked like. I actually have to drop to another meeting, but if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to connect with you about the Hexagon. I saw Nika also wanted to connect with you. So
yeah, I'd be happy to connect offline.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Very good.
All right. Well, just like Hannah, I do have another meeting to get to. So everyone, thank you very, very, very much for joining us today. We'll be pushing out the recording. Do we need to add more than 30 minutes? I think we might. This conversation, you know, I'm having to cut us off again. So maybe our next time we do a little bit more. I will say we will not have a summer meeting because of the user conference. So look for us again in the fall.
Hey guys, so in between this meeting and the next one, feel free to reach out to Corey and I. Just even if you want to just go through what you're currently doing, if there's some process improvements or different tools that Esri might have that you could be leveraging, just reach out. We'd love to talk to you and just kind of keep our finger on the pulse as to, you know, how transit's doing and where we can continue to improve and move forward. So thank you guys. I appreciate you guys joining.
Thank you, everyone. And please follow up. I've got my list and we'll be in touch. Thank you all.